As I stop joking here this morning, Joe, I guess staying on the same page there, right? Like, talk to me about how you plan on just navigating the messy political landscape without the backing of a major party, right? Like,
Yeah,
what does that look like?
it has to start, I think, with trying to meet needs and seeing how that goes.
Hmm.
I think that one of the most effective ways to learn how something works is to try and fail. Failure is a little overstated, I think. I think people are very afraid of trying something and it not working because they feel that that's going to, and I feel this too, that that's going to like negatively reflect on their ability to do things. I think we have to get a lot more comfortable with failure if we're going to get things done, right?
Mm-hmm.
How in the world can we decide something is going to work until we've done it? So I think we have to try things and I think we have to be willing to fail. And part of my strategy here is trying to meet some needs in the community and seeing how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, building connections and relationships with the people who are also making decisions is really important. This is an open call out, by the way, to anybody who wants to. I want to meet with you. I want to talk with you, especially if you're in a position of leadership here in Cowlitz County. I'm not really going to blush at the idea that you are on a different side of an issue as me. I expressed that already earlier. Please come talk to me. I'm going to do my very best to reach out to you. I have no problem working with people that I disagree with. It takes time, it takes some patience. And right now, I'm focused on meeting community needs as a way of drawing those connections and of building those relationships. That's ultimately how I think this has to work.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be me on a high horse on some pedestal, um,
Mm-hmm.
dictating down to an unwilling populace. It has to be better than that. It has to account for more than that. And that's my strategy, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I want to go back to something that you led with on that is the importance of not being afraid to fail. So one hits home with me. I studied entrepreneurship in college, and that's something that I think is really important from a business aspect. But talk to me about how you take failure and how you get better from it and how you learn from it. I think that's a critical aspect. So how do you view that, right? And how do you bring that to failures in what you're trying to do in the community right now, and how you can always constantly improve.
I hate failing. It sucks and it feels awful. Truly. The way that I naturally try to avoid failure is I try as hard as I can to think about every single possibility. um, I've called this in the past like the shatter effect. Like I come to a decision and it's a little bit like a nail hitting a piece of glass.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing all of the little cracks and striations and little paths to get out to the edges, right? That's how my brain naturally wants to try to avoid failure is to just think of everything. Of course, that leads me to overthink, right? The practice I've developed for myself is to try to get to a point where I feel like I've accounted for all of the realistic risks and to release myself from the pressure of needing to think of everything before I make a decision. I said this earlier, right? But a hallmark of a complex system is unintended consequences.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've had to recognize is that even if I spend months thinking something through, once I make a decision, there will be consequences I couldn't think of. Just guaranteed. So I hate failure. Naturally, I want to do everything I can to avoid it. And my practice has been figuring out how to think through reasonably what those risks really are, assess whether or not they're things we can actually control and account for, and then make the best decision with the information that we have.
Yeah.
I heard Guy Kawasaki was he's a former executive with Apple, One of the things he talked about was, the dependency that leaders have on data. And he said, I think people expect data to make their decisions for them. And the reality is that if you are a leader, you need to be willing to make a decision before you know everything about everything. He argues you should make a decision when you have about 80% of what you think you need to know. I don't know that that's directly applicable to government. I think he's speaking from a business perspective there. But I think there's a balance to strike between trying to figure out every possible consequence
Mm-hmm.
and and being willing to fail. Right?
Yeah. No. Love that. Thank you for that. And then just playing off of one word, you said balance.